Hola, howdy, how is everyone doing? My name is Lisa Ingle-Stevens, and I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. I am the co-owner of the union, and I co-own 3 yoga studios and fitness centers here in San Antonio with one of my dearest and best friends, Stephen Falk. And I'm so excited that you're taking a little time for yourself to mentally work on what's going on with you. We are, without a doubt, witnessing history right now, and we are facing things that we've never faced before. So it's pretty remarkable. And as heavy as this situation might be right now with the coronavirus and many of us being asked to stay in our homes and people losing jobs and us all just running around literally not knowing what's going to happen from moment to moment, I personally feel there's a huge opportunity right now for us to take this time, if you have it. Now, granted, there are parts of the world right now that are out there working for all of our safety. I think of everyone that is working in hospitals and manufacturing companies and, you know, the firemen and the policemen and all these incredible workers that are continuing to work day and night to make sure we're taken care of. But there are others of us that are actually being forced to stay home right now and probably sitting with a lot of questions, not at all trying to project this, but possibly some frustrations and feeling collapsed. So today's topic that I'd like to talk to you about is one of my favorite topics, which is called space. And not outer space, that's for my daughter Olivia, not in the stars and the planets, but your actual space. Each of us has a space that's ours. We have it in the realm of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, temporal. There's all types of ways to look at space. But in this current moment, right now, we are even limited in our space. If you think about the fact that we aren't really supposed to be in groups of 10, if you think about the places you go without even thinking twice, whether it's the grocery store or your favorite restaurant or your yoga studio or your best friend's house or the birthday party or the wedding or the celebration, all of these places that we go, parks, vacations, trips, it's all being limited right now. And it's an incredible time for you to start looking at your own space. I've had the tremendous gift and honor of studying with an incredible woman named Allison Armstrong, who is one of my teachers. And I've spent over about 5-6 years now studying with her, and she co-owns a company named PAX. And PAX stands for peace. And what she does is shares information and teaches us information to get out to the world so that we can give people additional tools on what's going on in their real lives, on embracing the fact what it means to be human, which, not projecting this at all, but being human can be lots of fun, I think, and I mean that fun in a sarcastic way. And I also mean that fun, and it can be a lot of fun to be human. But sometimes we can think we're alone, and sometimes we can think we're the only one in the world that feels the way that we do. And so I'm going to invite you today to take on the concept of space. And not just the idea of what we were talking about, but space in the realm of space equals self. We'll start with a very basic example. Think of your home. It doesn't matter if it's an apartment, if it's a condo, if it's a house. Just think of what the place that you call your home. That is a physical space that you go into. And right now, many of us are being forced to stay in that one space. Well, look around it. Does it make you happy? Are there things in that space that bring you joy? Or is it when you walk into that space, it actually makes you tense? And that's just one lens, if you just cover it, that's just one lens to look at the idea of space. Think of your mental space right now. You turn the news on, it's constant information about the coronavirus and what's new and what's happening, and it's just right there in your brain, 24/7. Every single person you talk to right now, that's probably on the top of their brain and their list. And so even your mental space, what you used to be able to take in possibly a month ago, just notice what has changed now, because your brain has this mental cloud just completely focusing on what's next, what's next, what's next, and it robs us of being present. Emotional space. So that has been super fun for me the past couple weeks. For the first time in 16 years, my business partner and I had to close our doors for our businesses, and we didn't get to choose that. And emotionally, not even being able to keep my entire team and see my entire team, there's been a lot of ups and downs in my emotional space. And just being aware of that and noticing, ooh, wow, like look how you're feeling now, and not beating myself up for it, because we have emotion. It's a normal thing. There's nothing wrong with it. Your spiritual space. For some of us right now, we're not able to go to church. We're not going to the places that provide that spiritual outlet. We don't have that place to worship. And it can be overwhelming and frustrating and think, okay, now I'm collapsed. I don't have that anymore. And what I would love to invite us all to do is to start looking at space in a whole new way and as an opportunity. Because in my opinion, and some of the work we do at PAX, is your number one job is to honor your space. Not my space, not your family space, not your best friend's space, but your space. What would it look like for you to hold your space? That when you turned on the news, you didn't automatically collapse and think, okay, that's it. We're never going to get out of this. It's just going to keep getting worse. Everything's done. It doesn't mean that you have to have a control over anyone or anything else, but what would it look like if you actually could control your emotional space to how people are feeling, or your mental space to what's going on? In my opinion, even thinking about your space and being aware of it is like having a superpower, because most of us live our daily lives not even thinking about it. I mean, when was the last time you looked at your car? Like, does that space make you happen? It doesn't matter if you have an old car or a new car. The matter is, like, when you sit in that seat, how much time do you spend in that space? What does it make you feel like? We tend to think we don't have control over this. You have 100% control over it, right? In my car, I have a little note that my daughter wrote me, and I always have food in my car. It's just me. But it makes me happy knowing that, right? And it would be a great exercise for you to just write out, take a moment or take a couple minutes and just write out every type of space you can think of for yourself. I'm a visual person, so I like to write things anyway. It's really good for the brain. But again, this is the concept. Space equals self. Where's your emotional space today? Where's your mental space? What's your physical space? What's your spiritual space? Your temporal space? In which of these are you collapsed? I think about how I looked at time 2 weeks ago. That's our temporal space. I wasn't worried. It was Monday. Everything was going to be fine. Next day was Tuesday, and I was going to be doing the same thing I do every Tuesday, which is to take my daughter and her best friend to gymnastics. Week goes by, gymnastics center's closed. My daughter's at home, and her best friend's at home. They're not going to school. They're both being homeschooled now. Yeah, time can change that quick, and I could decide to stay collapsed in that time space, that it's not the way it used to be, or I could choose to question, well, what is it I want to do with my time? Here at the Union, we think about physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, and temporal space all the time, right? And one of the things I think there's a huge opportunity right now in your homes as you continue to take care of your physical being, your mental being, your emotional being, your spiritual being. Ask yourself, where are you practicing your yoga? Or where are you doing your workouts? Does that space actually make you happy? Does it bring some joy? You can choose that. Even though you're not at the yoga studio, or let's say that you go to Joyride, an awesome cycling place here in town, or you go to a different yoga studio in town, or you go to a Orange Theory or a CrossFit, it doesn't matter. Just because that physical space isn't available, you still can make a space for you that provides this. But when it doesn't look the way we want, or the way we wanted, we can immediately collapse our space to all of it. When I talk about collapsing our space, visualize your house as a tent. And when our space collapses, if someone pulled all of the stakes out of your tent immediately, and what happens? We just, crumble up, get ourselves in this little fetal position, and it can feel like that's where we need to stay forever. Well, number one, it's normal that our space gets collapsed. Welcome to being human and having fun. Number two, what if you started playing with the idea of how quick could you put your tent back up? What if you started to own the fact that you're the one that runs your own tent? That if you unzip the tent, it's you that lets things in and out. It's not the other way. Your tent's not just open for anyone to come in or to come out. And just by being aware that you have a choice in your space, what could show up for you? We like to think as humans that things are always happening to us. We have so many things coming at us in multiple directions. I know as a mom, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend, as a boss, you name it. We all wear these hats every day, and we can think all of these things are happening to us versus realizing we are the ones who control our space. No one else is doing that but us. And what if during this time that is our new normal with space, what if you could see this as an opportunity to see what you really care about? Who are the people you wish were in your space right now? What are the things you wish you could do right now? What mentally brings you joy right now? What physically makes you feel good right now? Because when we get stripped of the things we naturally feel we need or want, there's gold. Go digging for it, because you'll start seeing, wow, this brings me a lot of joy. This mentally keeps my tent up. And then notice the things that are actually collapsing the tent. Are there people around you that take you out constantly? Are there things you keep doing that do not put your tent back up? And I see right now, as all of us go through this together, as some of us are staying in these smaller spaces for the greater good of the whole world, rather than sitting in frustration about it, what if you sat in possibility about it? So you can start visualizing the space you want to create as you move forward in your life, and you start realizing you have 100% of the control, nobody else. So play with space, see how it shows up for you, and I look forward to talking more about this in the future. And just so you hear it from me, I think everyone out there is doing a pretty freaking awesome job of holding space to what's going on in the world.